Hey, this is Story Game Sunday, the road. Sorry. This is Story Game Sunday, which the road to Lindisfarne. I want to start with the CATS procedure, CATS, concept, aim, tone, and subject matter. The concept of which is it's a medieval European setting. We start in London, in fact. We play a group of medieval characters. I call them medieval jerk faces because that's basically what they are, who are escorting a woman, Eloise, who has confessed to witchcraft. They are taking her from London to the holy island of Lindisfarne, where she is going to be burned at the stake because she is a confessed witch. The player of Eloise, in this case David, is going to secretly determine whether Eloise is innocent or guilty. Okay. And so, kind of dovetailing into our aim, in this game, we have two big things we're trying to accomplish. The first is we want to show these men who are escorting her, we want to show their backstory, we want to show their dark past, and how that informs their feelings about Eloise. The other thing we have to determine is, do we actually think Eloise is innocent or guilty? And at the end, we'll have a decision to make about whether we go through with burning her or not. Now, there's a lot of like things at play, right? You might think she's innocent and still want to burn her. That's okay. Your character may have your motivations for doing that. You may decide that Eloise is guilty, but for whatever reason, you want to rescue Eloise. And you might think she's guilty and decide to burn her, and likewise as well. So,
Howdy.
hey, Shane, I'm just going through the cats right now.
Go for it.
So that's kind of our thing. Obviously, we're going to finish the session. We've got plenty of time. And but yeah, those are the two big things: explore the backstories of the characters and make a determination of whether we think Eloise is innocent or guilty. Okay. The tone of the game is dark. There's no getting around it. It's a dark game. It can have moments of humor, but I think we should always kind of keep it focused on the grim, dark tone. Okay. Um, Subject matter wise, I think it gets a little snarly. I've played this a few times, and it can get a little heavy, and I think that's okay. The game has a built-in safety mechanic called the alarm, and it's basically the X card, if except it's an X card that also can be used if you're just unhappy with like a sort of element of the fiction and not just something that makes you uncomfortable. So in any case, if you don't like the direction the story is going, something happens that bothers you, or if something's going on that makes you feel uncomfortable in an unsafe way or in an unfun way, go ahead and just say, I want to raise the alarm. And if we need to discuss it, we will. But otherwise, we'll just kind of stop and make a change. Also, some things might be happening in the fiction that's, you can tell it's going in a really dark direction. And maybe it's something you would want to see happen in the fiction, but not on screen. It's okay to raise the alarm and say, hey, can we just off screen that, right? That's totally cool. I still, even with all that in place, I still strongly prefer that we don't rape Eloise. Okay, I would like for that not to happen. But apart from that, I'm cool with almost anything. Like, there's a certain the setting sort of like there's a certain level of like, accepting the fact that like these men are going to like treat her badly, and like maybe there's a lot of like emotional abuse, maybe there's a lot of like, maybe there's some torture. um Obviously they're going to maybe burn her at the end, right? I just don't want any sexual assault. That's basically it. Does anybody else have any like big hardline things they'd like to avoid that we can discuss right now?
I would prefer no abuse or of animals.
Should be fine. What about like in the scenery, like post facto? Is that okay?
A post facto is fine.
Yeah, cool. Because I think that's actually some stuff on the
Yep.
sheets.
Yep.
Cool. Anything else? All right. Does anybody have any questions about the cats? Does everybody understand kind of basically what we're going to be doing?
One question on kind of, I guess, partially tone, partially subject matter of supernatural. How much in fiction, how much just like the characters might believe things, but it's ambiguous as it's presented?
I think that's really good. Yeah, I've seen it at different levels. I've seen a spectrum. I think it's okay to strongly imply that the supernatural is real in the world, but maybe not like real on the nose show it. That's my feeling on it. Like, I would prefer not to see Eloise casting spells that do things while she's in the cage, because she's probably guilty. It'll kind of be up to David in that regard, like the way he wants to play Eloise. I would prefer to keep it more of a, like, just a hint or a suggestion or implication. Certainly these characters believe that the supernatural is real, right? Well, maybe. I mean, with in the setting, they believe it. But, I would personally not like to see Eloise like casting hexes and causing people's hair to fall out or whatever. Like, that feels a bridge too far to me. But unless like it's framed in a way that makes it suggestive that it could just be something natural that happened, right? So I don't think that'll be too much trouble, though. Does that answer your question, Chris?
I mean, it seems like kind of like strange occurrences would probably be kind of sort of okay.
Yeah, that's all cool. Yeah, I think that's all great. I think that's par for the course, But
yeah, there should always be like a mundane explanation.
Yeah, we'll know. It's one of those things. We'll know if we're going too far with it, so we can raise the alarm on it. Cool. So I have a folder. I'll paste it here again for you, Shane, because I don't think that it saves the text if you join later. But there's the folder. There are 3 things in that folder. You're going to find the little map, the little journey tracker, the rules, and the character sheets. David's going to be playing the witch, in case you didn't pick up on that, or Eloise, not necessarily the witch. So that's sorted. The rest of us have to decide who we're going to play. In a 5-player game, we cannot choose Barrick. Barrick is off the table, so just know that. But otherwise, take a look at the characters and, see who you might be interested in playing based off the questions that are posed, because that gives you a sense of like what kinds of scenes you might be angling for and that kind of thing. Does anybody want any like explanations on the characters or any like rules explanation right now to understand, like maybe that might help inform your decision?
If I could ask to not play, oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name. The old dude.
Or Hayden.
Yeah, I've played Hayden before, and I would like to try somebody different.
Fair enough. I've played Brother Armand a lot. I almost always play Brother Armand. I'm okay playing him again, but I would be interested in doing something else. So,
you said Barrick is off?
Barrick is off, yeah. According to the rules, anyway.
Interesting.
I should mention that that's not how Serafina ran it when she ran it for us. She took Ham off. But
yeah, well,
there's a reason, I know. Yeah, there's next. She was justified, I think, based off her previous game where Ham was problematic. So,
I've been in that game.
Yeah. I'm okay with whatever. I would like to play Thorin personally. That's where I'm leaning towards. So, Shane, you were the one who wanted to play somebody different. Do you have a preference?
Yeah. Let's see here. I think I'm torn between Armand and, well, I guess that only leaves me with Armand or Ham. Oof.
You could play Ham doesn't have to be goofy, right? Ham can be.
I guess that's true.
His cowardice can show itself in dark ways, right?
Yeah, like none of these traits lead like to like a place of humor for me, really. Like,
yeah, I know why it kind of goes that way sometimes. Like, if any character is going to be comic relief, it's going to be Ham, I think, but it doesn't have to be, right?
Yeah. And if other people want to like choose as well, feel free. I'm still kind of.
You said you didn't want to play Hayden, so I might pick him up.
Cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm fine with any of these. Maybe slightly leaning towards Ham over Armand. But
So Shane, Armand then?
Yeah, I can take Armand. That's cool.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
All right, sort of. If you guys want to, I mean, if you think you want to print those, you can, but there's not much information there. Just traits and questions. That's basically it. Oh, at the bottom, there's also some scene ideas. If when you're called to frame a scene, if you're just kind of drawing a blank, those scene ideas are great, like sort of like little prompts to kind of get your creative juices flowing. So just know that as well. Awesome. I pull up the rules here, make sure there's nothing else we have to do in terms of picking characters. The rules are pretty simple. There's basically a scripted sequence of events. You move through an introduction and several acts, and then like sort of a little denouement. And right before every one, I'll read the procedure, like what we're going to be doing. But basically, the simple answer is it's just a simple scene framing game. On your turn, when you're asked to call for a scene or frame a scene, you're going to frame a scene. You must be in the scene, your character that is, and then you decide who else is in the scene. Tell us what the environment looks like at that time, like what's going on, where everybody's at, and then if you want to kind of define the problem of the scene or whatever the scene is about, that's okay too. And then just play out the scene until you feel like it's concluded, and that's it. At a certain point in the game, about halfway or roughly halfway through, you're going to have to make a confession for your character. And the confession is you basically answering one of your questions, but you confess it as a player to the other players. It's not stuff that the characters necessarily know, but it's just something that has to be done. So be thinking about your confession. And you can do scenes that are dictated, right? You don't have to, they don't have to be scenes with other people. And in fact, the introduction scenes are not. You can have a scene where it's just showing your character doing something at camp, something that reveals something about them, right? Like we're always trying to reveal our character, but it can be a scene that, you know, where you're not, there's no dialogue at all. It's just you kind of moving through a scene, doing a thing. That's okay too. And so, and you want a mix of those sometimes, because like a lot of like dialogue heavy scenes will like, it could kind of slow the game down a little bit, right? So it's okay to kind of intercut with some just simpler, smaller dictated scenes. But that's kind of the basic thrust of that. Eloise, you need to choose whether you are, whether you're innocent or guilty. And I'm going to ask you to find a little snatch of paper handy and just write that word, innocent or guilty, on it, and then fold it up and never tell us, never mention it again. Okay. Know it for yourself, but as players, we do not know. It's the one thing we cannot know. It's okay for us to have out of character knowledge about almost anything else, but not about that. That's the one thing we, as players, we cannot know. And I think that's basically it. Yeah, we'll do introduction scenes. Once everyone's chosen a character, then each player, except for Eloise, must narrate a short introduction scene. Describe your character along with a brief physical description in a situation where their actions reveal a little bit of their personality. This does not have to be very long. In fact, it should be quite brief, okay? But it can be at any point in time before this journey to Lindisfarne. So it could be like in the far past, it could be when they were kids, it could be moments before the journey, right? At any point before the journey, that's what we're showing. And importantly, what we want to show the character, right? So yeah, just a little bit of detail. Short scene is great. And then after that, we go to the first act, which is London. So if everyone wants to take a second to think about their introduction scene, I'm going to create a clockwise order for us, and I'm going to type that in the chat. This will be clockwise from Eloise. Incidentally, a neat little touch of the game. Eloise doesn't do an introduction scene. She does her introduction scene at the very end. So at the very end, or near the very end of the game, we see the introduction of Eloise, okay? And it is presumably like a very revealing scene about her, right? But I'm going to go ahead and do an order right now so that we, whenever it calls for a clockwise or counterclockwise, we know what that order is. Thinking about your scene, that's what I'm going to do. our order will be, our clockwise order will be Eloise, Hayden, Thorn, Armand, Ham. If it ever goes counterclockwise from Eloise, it'll be Ham, Armand, Thorn, Hayden. And I put that in the chat there. And if we could just minimize the chat so that we could keep that nearby and handy, that would be great. Can't remember if the introductions go in any particular order though. I think this can go in any order. So basically, whoever wants to give their introduction scene can do so. I need to look at my questions though, make sure I remind myself of my character just a little bit. I have mine ready unless somebody wants to go first. So, Sir Thorn, I am listed as a knight and a deserter from the Crusades. And my scene is going to be during the Crusades when we were in the southerly lands, right? And I think we have a scene where a house of Muslims, people who were perhaps plotting against us, I think we're raiding that house. These men, these soldiers are going in and they're dragging people out of, this house. Mostly men, but some women as well. They're being dragged out and they are being brought out into like a square, right? And there is a monk or a priest of some sort who's there in the squares. They're being dragged out and pushed down on their knees. And the priest is basically asking them if they, if they want to repent, if they want to accept the one true God and repent of their ways. And of course, there's, these people won't do it. And one of the soldiers is just going by. It's almost routine. Like, do you repent? No. All right. Soldier walks by and just cuts their throat, just spills their blood out into the sand, and they die. That's just going one by one. And it's spreading. They're dragging people out of lots of houses in this community. Okay. But I am there. And there's one house in particular. And at this point, I'm significantly younger than I will be during this game. But right now, I'm fairly young, probably in my early 20s, maybe not even that old. And my armor is clean and gleaming. My vestments over my armor are well tailored and well cared for. I look like someone who really loves their job. But there's one house there that is kind of, which I've got my eye on, I'm a little nervous about. And eventually I break off from the rest of the group of the soldiers and I go in there and I find a young man who recognizes me, who I recognize. He looks very, very scared. And I reach down and I kind of I touch his cheek, I stroke his cheek a little bit. And he looks like he wants to embrace me, but I don't let him. And instead, I just grab him and I pull him toward the rear of the house, toward a back exit. And I just fling it open and command him to go, just tell him to go. And he runs, and we see him just running down the hill away from this group of crusaders to safety, presumably. And that's my introduction scene. And this can be in any order, whoever wants to go next.
Sure. You see a gaunt, obviously underfed man with kind of scraggly beard, dirty clothes, muddy boots, trudging through dirty city streets. He's not used to these streets. He's not from around here. Doesn't really know his way around, but he's peering down alleyways, and whenever he sees piles of corpses from the plague, he bundles up the cloth into his mouth to kind of cover himself up, and he rummages through the corpses to find any coin or food or anything that he can kind of scrounge off the dead. But in one alleyway, there's a single corpse, fairly fresh, and on this corpse, he starts, he like opens up the jacket and he's like rummaging through the pockets, and then he sees around the neck that this corpse is wearing a pendant with this like wrought iron knot on it, and he just stops dead in his tracks, mutters something in maybe Gaelic or something of like, the symbol is like, okay, I can't desecrate this corpse, but all of the Christian corpses were totally fair game.
Awesome. Hey, real quick, is my lower third showing in the correct orientation for everyone?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Hams, yours is not. You need to flip yours somehow.
I thought it was backwards, but apparently it was showing forwards for everyone else. So fix that.
Awesome. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. So we see a significantly younger Sir Hayden than we do now, dressed in a pretty high level kind of armor. His coat of arms is clean and obviously kind of top notch stuff. He's sitting astride a serious thoroughbred in the middle of a town square. There's a huge mass of people surrounding a burning of a witch. The fires have just been lit, and just as the flames reach, or maybe the smoke reaches the witch, she yells out to recant her confession. And the kind of assembled justices or priests or whoever's there to see justice being done, kind of call out for someone to pull her out of the fire. Now that she's recanted, there's a different course of justice. And almost immediately, Sir Hayden kind of kicks his horse into action, leaps down and starts pulling the brush, the wood that's on fire away from her, and sort of steps into the flames, cuts the ropes, and kind of pulls her out. They're both gasping for air. Hayden's burnt a little bit, and I don't know, maybe passes out. Now that we see him kind of in the present day, it's probably the same garb he's wearing. It's run down, it's dirty, it's ill-maintained, and there's a bit of scarring we can see now.
Cool.
So I think we're seeing a scene maybe a couple years earlier or so, and Mass has just finished, and Brother Armand is in the church doing his greetings and, well, his goodbyes, greetings. People are coming up to him and talking with him and whatnot. And we see a dirtyish woman who probably we don't see, who isn't normally one to come to church. She's obviously tried to kind of put herself as together as she can, but it's not a great job. She's probably in her, I feel like 19 or 20 or something like that. And as she's coming up, Brother Armand, who is probably in his, let's say, early 30s or so, not a tall man. He's, I think he has some sort of digestive problem, and so he doesn't have a lot to him. Probably looks a little bit sickly, but can kind of put on a good face such that he doesn't look so much so. And I think as she comes up to say hello, he looks very surprised to see her, and his eyes kind of widen even further when he sees that she's bringing a maybe like a 3 or 4 year old girl along with her. And he just starts to kind of like babble a little bit something when she comes to see him, and kind of he makes a very expeditious exit as if he's just kind of like terrified of something. And I think a few minutes later we see him kind of like, I think, hiding in a confessional booth, and we're seeing kind of tears kind of coming from his eyes.
All right. I think that's everybody. So Act 1 is in London. The tone for this act is hopeful. So all of our scenes should have a hopeful tone, right? If you have the rules pulled up on page 5 of the PDF, Hayden, you actually read this first passage for Act 1. Do you see that there? You're muted too.
Hold on. Page 5, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay. That's V, is it? Okay. Sorry, I don't see that.
It also might depend. Yeah. So if you look at page 5, where it says Act 1 London up top, and then
PDF page 5.
PDF page 5. Oh yeah, PDF page 5.
Oh, sorry.
Page 8. Sorry, page 8 of the document. It's PDF page 5.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
I forgot this. This is like double.
Sorry. Okay. The cart groans under the weight of the large iron cage it carries. Its wheels bend over the hard, rutted ground. The citizens of the city pass food, valuables, and blessings to the companions, even as they cast fearful glances to the cage itself. A group of monks follow the cart for a time, chanting prayers and spreading the word of God. The witch has been found. The city shall be saved. Praise be to the Lord. As the River Thames comes into view, the cart slowly makes its way over a narrow bridge. The procession of monks stop, but their clear voices continue to ring out over the water. Some among the crowd of well-wishers grasp keepsakes from the family members they have lost to the Great Plague. But as the cart reaches the other side, a great cheer goes up, and the sun shines down from heaven, warming the faces and hearts of everyone there. Everyone save Eloise. The young woman sits quietly in the middle of the cage, a shadow concealing her. The journey begins.
And now each player takes it in turn to frame scenes about the start of the journey, starting with Eloise's player and then clockwise around the table until everyone is done so. The scene framer describes the location and who is present, including any minor character roles. Then each player reads out their character's questions so that the group can help explore them. Then we move to the next act, Hangman's Wood. So we each frame a scene and then play it out, and then we read our questions out loud. So Eloise, your tone is somehow hopeful for your scene framing here. What's happening in the scene and who's in the scene?
I think that Brother Armand is departing from that group of monks that were just on the edge. And he's moving a little quicker to catch up to our caravan. And he comes close to the cage. And I'll reach forward through the iron bars towards him and address him and try and get his attention. Priest. Are you a priest? What should I call you?
My name is Brother Armand, my dear.
Brother. So is this truly the end? Can my soul be saved?
I think that has a lot to do with you. If you are willing to be saved, if you confess to what you have done and you make good with the Lord, then of course, there's always salvation for everyone available.
The thing is, I hope it is true. I hope that I can. I don't remember ever doing any of the things that I confessed to doing, but I must have done them or I wouldn't have said it.
Well, I've heard that the devil can have very strong sway over people when he takes them. But when he does take them, it is because he's been invited. But you can ask for forgiveness, and you can repent that action of asking him in.
Have you ever met a witch before who did not recall doing it, but confessed nevertheless?
I have not, nor have I read anything of the sort in the literature, or heard it from anyone.
And I'll sit back, my brow will furrow. Well, that's not what I was hoping to hear. But if you are right and I go through with this, perhaps still my soul can be saved.
I am hopeful, my dear.
She'll kind of nod and look down, still her brow furrowed, still confused.
Scene?
Yeah, that's my scene.
Awesome. Going around the table, Hayden.
Hayden has dismounted for a while from the horse. Maybe we're 5 or 6 miles out of London. And he's tucking into some of the bread and maybe cheese that had been thrown at them earlier. And he falls back to the cart with the cage and Eloise in it, and hands some bread, maybe a torn loaf or something, through the bars to her. Few things go better on an empty stomach.
I guess I need to keep my strength up so we can make this journey. I've never been out of the city before.
Well, that ain't too unusual, but I don't know, the plague has bitten hard recently. Maybe it's safer to be out of the city.
Well, not with me, if what they say can be believed. What I said, I guess I should say. But thank you. I was really. I'll save this for later. I'm really not hungry right now. Eloise is like almost in tears at your like kindness to her for giving her some basic food.
This yeah, these things don't get any easier, you know. But the small things, right? That's what the priests tell us. We should be kind to our enemies.
Is that what they say?
Sometimes.
Have you ever been to war?
No, I was lucky enough never to see battle, not true battle. But everyone looks at me and thinks he must have been to a few. I usually don't. I usually don't tell them straight up that I haven't. I let them form their own opinions, mistaken or whatever. But there's not much to lose from telling you my dark secrets, huh?
And she kind of gives like a wan smile at that, and you can see that there are like in the grime on her face, there are a little bit of these tear marks where they've come down her face. No, I guess not. I guess there is nothing wrong with you telling me all your secrets. I can be like a confession booth for just anyone now, I suppose.
Well, I'm not sure what Brother Armand would say about that. I'm sure he'll be taking us all under his wing on this journey.
I suppose. He doesn't look quite well though, does he?
I've seen healthier drowned men.
Wow. That's an expression I don't know that I've heard before, but I see your meaning in it. You think that he can weather this journey? I hear that the road is hard.
Yeah, it's a long road, but I don't know. I've seen worse men survive journeys. I don't know. Maybe he'll sit on the cart for a while, save his health.
Perhaps so. I'll start to break the bread and eat it, a little bit of it. All right, sir. What other dark secrets do you have to tell the witch today?
That's all today, at least.
All right.
I'll build myself up.
Is that scene?
Yeah, it's the scene.
I'm going to frame my scene. We are passing through, maybe we're going to stop for a little bit in a hamlet called Upper Billing End. And unlike a lot of the places, definitely a lot of places we've seen in the countryside, this hamlet is really busy. There are people going back and forth, going about their business. They seem to be fairly untouched by the plague. And I am going to be having a conversation with Ham, actually. So we're stopping, watering the horses, that kind of thing. And I say, Ham, you are a guide. You must know these lands, these little villages like this place here pretty well.
I take I think there's like furs and blankets that I've been hoarding on the carriage, and I pull them a little closer around my face to kind of block it a little. I'm like, yes. I grew up outside of any, city or place, and there's lots of things to know out in the countryside.
I bet there is. And Ham, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but I have a feeling that, well, you just strike me a man of a particularly dubious nature.
We all do what we must. I don't know what you're referring to, but
Well, it's just you know these lands well, and you being a character of rugged distinction and independence, I see that Upper Billing End is little touched by the plague, and I am a knight, I require the services of a squire, and I was wondering if perhaps you could show me where one might go about acquiring a squire in a village like Upper Billing End. Surely you've heard such things.
Seems rather noble of you, sir, to want to give someone out here such a prestigious job, but
I don't know how prestigious it is, but it's going to be a job, that's for certain.
Well, you would want someone who is large and healthy.
Fairly youthful, comely, show well at my side.
You could do worse than going to the lumber yard. Find some strapping young lad to show you how to chop wood.
Good. I certainly do need someone to handle my affairs and polish my sword when it's not frequently in use. Take me, Ham. Take me to this lumber yard. Introduce me. I think that would be fine.
I assumed you would be able to find your own way, but
you're our guide. That's what we're paying you for, correct?
Pulling the blankets closer and closer. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm the one to take you there.
Well, nevertheless, we have a few hours. I'm going to go see who needs some work around here. Don't let Hayden know that I've slipped off. At least not to where I've gone, if you don't mind. And I slip off.
Okay.
And that's the scene.
So I feel at some point during this ride towards, I guess, out of London, I think Brother Armand, either before or after Sir Thorne's trip to the lumber yard, I think he and I think there's a for anyone who's watching, or the viewing audience as it were, it's obvious that there's some previous association there. It's obvious that they know each other, at least in some way, shape, or form.
Thorne and Brother Armand?
Yeah.
Maybe, were you on the Crusades, possibly?
Possibly.
Okay.
I think he saddles up to you, or he walks up to you or rides up to you. I don't remember whether on horses or not. But
we can be. Maybe
he
you
says,
have a donkey.
Ah, there you go. He catches up with you and he nods to you and says, "It has been a while, Sir Thorn."
Yes, yes, Brother Armand. I was wondering how long it was going to take you to come up and catch up on old times.
They certainly feel like a long time ago now. Are you still doing well these days?
Out of character, I would like to know where we know each other from, I think.
I feel like we probably met somehow on the edge of the Crusades. I think maybe on your way out, I probably kind of had some sort of association with you.
Like an association or like...
Oh, not that.
Okay.
I think we had...
Did you do any squire work for me? I guess?
No, I think some dealings of some sort. Maybe you needed odd jobs or something like that. Or
I abandoned the Crusades, right? So maybe I was just broke or needing work or something.
Right, exactly. I feel like you were still in the Holy Lands or whatever, and I was there as well, and I was able to kind of like help you out somehow.
You knew I was a deserter, right? Okay, good. Yeah,
right.
That's perfect. I'm doing well. Much better than when you last saw me, when I barely could fill a bowl with even a measly amount of grain.
I'm glad that things have turned around for you. I'm glad that the Lord has seen fit to do well by you.
Well, don't take this the wrong way, brother, but I'm not sure the Lord had anything to do with it. I don't think the Lord cares about me or these, well, God-forsaken lands, and has not for some time.
I'm sorry to hear that your faith has slipped some. I do have a question for you. Do you feel as though you owe any kind of allegiance or ethical connection to anything if you do not feel that way towards the Lord?
I'm going to level with you, Brother Armand. I follow coin, and I use that coin for booze, whores, non-plague infested, of course, and for the general satisfaction of my base desires. I don't know if this girl is a witch. I don't care if this girl is a witch. I have a job to see her to Lindisfarne and watch her burn. And it's a job that pays pretty well.
I had wondered if you had thoughts about youthful indiscretions, but I sense that I know that you feel as though those are not anything to be worried about.
I think that I've done a lot of things in my life, brother, that would cause me to be deemed a heretic and would probably see me flogged in the square or worse. But I also know that my sword hand is able, and the only way I'm ever going to find myself in a situation like that is if they bring someone to fetch me who's even bigger and nastier than I am. And the man hasn't been found yet.
I'm glad that
So
I hope that future is the future that comes.
And then before the scene ends, though, I would like to be like, I would kind of like, I would be riding ahead of you a little bit, and I would turn back at you on your donkey, and I would say, speaking of youthful indiscretions, what of yourself? Who here will you confess to, Brother Armand? And then I just leave it at that.
Sounds good.
And Ham.
Yeah, I think we're getting, this is a little further along the trip, and it's more kind of countryside. In this particular area, we're crossing like a particularly luscious green hill, and we hear a lot of bird song all of a sudden. Kind of, a bunch of birds fly past, and then we hear lots of different kinds of birds singing kind of back and forth at each other. And I'm still doing my very lazy, ostensibly guiding the horse on the cart, but we're still on a road. The horse will follow the road on its own. I'm just enjoying how warm I am and how well fed I am and how great an opportunity this trip is. And Brother Armand, I think you're riding alongside. And I turn to you like, brother, I never did get a chance to thank your father for how great a how thankful I am for this opportunity to go on this trip and serve God. Like I kind of mutter under myself, yeah, that's the right word, right? Yes. This is, I'm honored.
You're on the cart with the cage.
Yes.
Well, it is obvious that you've been chosen by the Lord for this position. You have something to give and to provide for this group. It is obvious that you know your way here, and it is obvious that you are the one who we need at this point.
I hadn't really thought of it that way, but I'm glad that at least you appreciate my presence here. I grab yet another kind of blanket, and I'm like, you hear these birds?
I do indeed. Their song is quite beautiful.
It is, but you should also know that it is a good sign.
Oh?
Indeed. If you know how to listen to the birds, and you know how to pay attention to them, I'm kind of puffing myself up a little bit. You know that they are bringing tidings of good weather and calm roads.
I'm glad to hear that.
Did you not know?
I did not know that.
Maybe
see?
this is the type of thing that you meant when you said I belonged on this trip.
This is obviously that. It is always wonderful to be taught something and to learn something new about the world.
Can
Indeed.
Eloise jump into this scene?
I'd be fine with Eloise jumping into it.
Yeah, she's definitely overhearing this,
Yeah.
but I don't know what her reaction is.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like taking it in right now. Like, he seems to know something about, like, his knowledge seems more on point for magic than my own. I'm just like, what is this guy about?
Besides, maybe just bullshit, but
How did you come to learn about this bird speech, as it were?
It is not like I listen to their conversations or anything wicked like that. I wouldn't want to give you, brother, the wrong impression of me. Merely perhaps superstition, but growing up, my mother always told me that it was the birds are in the air, and they know the quality of the air better than we do down on the surface of the earth. And so it would be only natural that they would see the storms coming sooner, and their emotions would track better with the quality of the weather around us. So whether it is true or not, I've had good luck catching these things before.
Well, may that be the way it is. I think we're going to have a long journey ahead of us. Whether the weather helps us or not, I feel it's still going to be a difficult journey in many ways.
Hopefully the birds stay in good spirits the entire time then.
I am hopeful as well.
And I think I, again, pull the blankets, and I kind of at this point, I'm not tending to the horse at all, and I maybe even drift off a little bit.
I'll just whisper to you. I'm like, "Do you think I control the birds?"
Who are you whispering to?
To Ham.
Okay.
You catch me as I'm starting to drift off, and I turn back to you, don't be crazy. They're just birds.
So you don't believe in any of this, do you?
What they call witchcraft, it's made up. But there are real people who can divine with spirits, real forces out in the natural world. These city folk, they're cloistered. They're by their church. I never really understood any of it. I'm happy for if the lies means that people showered us with coin and food. Sorry that you got the short end of the stick.
Is that's really your words for me?
It's a job.
You'd take a coin out of your own dead mother's pocket, wouldn't you?
But she wasn't a Christian.
And I'll just sit back and not stop talking with Ham.
I'm like, okay, good. Now I can sleep.
All right. Now we read our questions, and then we'll take a short break. So, Eloise, do you have questions? Yeah, you do. Read your questions, Eloise.
My questions. We start at the top, or just pick one?
Just read them all out. That's it. Just to,
Oh, read all three?
It's just to kind of get us all thinking about them. So
I don't answer them, though. I just read them out. Okay. Why do you claim you don't remember anything from before you were arrested? Why are you terrified of Armand? What happened to your family?
Awesome. Hayden?
Muted. Why do you despise Sir Thorn? What item of your father do you carry with you? Why do you cover your left hand?
I think that's me, I guess. Let's see here. What order could you not follow in the Crusades? How do you know Eloise prior to this situation? How has the plague caused you to suffer?
Why do you doubt that Eloise is a witch? What dark secret does Thorn know about you? Why were you chosen for this mission?
Who is paying you to lead your companions? Be a better person. And what offer would it take to betray your companions?
Awesome. Let's just take a quick break, like just a quick bio break, like 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll have a bigger break later. But when we come back, we'll be doing Act 2, The Hangman's Woods. The tone for the second act is threatening. Okay.
Are we all muted?
Looks like everyone's. I don't know if David's here or not. Looks like David's not back. I'd like to explore at least one or two of my questions, I think, this time, if I can. I'll probably say, like, oh, I'd like to explore this question, or whatever.
Sounds good.
Get a chance. David not back yet. Okay.
Sorry about that. I was making tea and I spilled the water everywhere.
Okay. Are you all set?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so now let's do Act 2. Ham, you read the passage. Are you ready? Go ahead.
Sure. Black twisted branches lean close across the path, as if to grab the companions with their twigged claws. Roots tangle across the forest trail, threatening to trip and ensnare the unwary. An ancient earthy smell mixes with rotting foliage and sticks at the back of the throat. Torches gutter and fight to stay alight against a chilling breeze which sends leaves swirling across the path. Hangman's Wood is a place known to harbor fugitives, ferocious animals, and quite possibly the spirits of the criminals whose lives gave the wood its name. A stomach-churning howl breaks the silence. This is not a place to be without a guide.
And now, Eloise, you're going to frame a foreshadow scene. This scene should contain none of the main characters, but it can include any minor characters as needed. This scene is meant to add background color and foreshadow events and characters that might come. Then after that, going counterclockwise, we each frame scenes up. And we proceed as normal at that point. So, Eloise, are you ready for your foreshadow scene?
Yes. Need to think for just a moment. So this scene, it doesn't even have to involve me. It could be something distant, something far away, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to include you. It's just something like, kind of out of character that the audience sees, right?
Right. So coming through the woods is a lone traveler. They're on this great big horse, just a monster of a horse, a war horse. This person is in full plate mail and is wearing the vestments of a crusader over top of their plate mail. They're carrying a sword in a scabbard. That it's an English long sword, one that you would use for mounted combat, and then they have a second sword for on foot combat. And they have their hood up in the midst of this traveling scene, so you cannot see their face. And they are reading a letter. I think that's it.
Okay. And now it starts with the player to the counterclockwise to Eloise, which is Ham. Ham, you frame the first scene.
It's the first night since we entered Hangman's Wood. And I make everyone stop a little earlier in the day than we have been. I say, it gets dark faster in the woods. We need to spend more time. People might read this as laziness on my part or whatever, but that first night we like look, I'm telling everyone, okay, let's keep an eye out for good places to stop and camp. And
so we're all in this scene?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And we come across a kind of clearing, kind of like flattened area where the trees kind of cover and there's some shade and some clear ground with underbrush. And in the middle is a large kind of stone that's been kind of smoothed over by the wind over time. And I draw the cart to kind of an abrupt halt. And I'm just staring at it. There's a genuine look of concern on my face.
Sir Hayden, our guide seems to be caught in a fit of catatonia.
Is he surprised that we found a good camping spot so easily. Maybe he thinks his job is under threat.
Possibly. I will tell you that he gave me a bit of advice back in Upper Billing End about the lumber yard that did not go as I had hoped it would.
They were all too straight and narrow for you, Thorn, were they?
I was in search of large pieces of wood and was not able to locate any at the lumber yard. Most distressful, I assure you. What is going on, guide? Why are you so trapped with this rock?
The lumberyard is, you maybe were not offering quite the right price, but we should keep moving.
This
Why?
is perfectly fine.
What's wrong with you? You afraid of a stone?
It's almost
Who
night.
asked the
This
opinion of the
seems like
witch?
a good place to stop.
And I like go and I rattle the cage and I like look at you like really, really like hard look and I say, no one asked for your opinion, witch.
Yes.
The stone is too similar to the markers.
The markers? What are you speaking of, guide?
It's I don't know if you've heard of the mounds mark a barrow or grave, but this is not a place to stop.
So we're concerned about some pagan graves. Is that what I'm hearing?
In these woods, I would play it more safe rather than flying by the seat of our pants. We should be careful. Unless the brother here desires to spend the entire evening doing some sort of sanctifying ritual, I think our time would be better spent pressing onwards.
Brother Armand seems tired and annoyed. I would prefer just to sleep. I do not think that we need to go further. This seems fine to me. The Lord will protect us. We are on a mission for the Lord.
Yeah, see, there you have it. We'll be completely safe, Ham, because the Lord has got us under his wing.
I like start tracing a pattern on my over my heart, and then I pause, and then I realize, oh, I should be crossing myself instead. Okay, fine. Just
Don't worry, Ham. I know there's no birds, but it's going to be okay.
yeah. So we make camp, and Ham does not do a whole lot to help everyone, and positions himself as far as possible from the stone.
Will he be putting the cart far away as well?
Yeah, I think we have the cart just barely pulled off the path. And I'm maybe I sleep near the cart, even though it's this really awkward, uncomfortable spot to sleep.
Maybe even under it?
That would be particularly uncomfortable, but no, just maybe leaning against the side of it or one of the wheels. And I'm just fine. Hopefully we can get out of this place soon. And
You all-
in the night, I'm not sure if it's unless we want to have a little more.
Well, I was just going to ask, do you all leave me in the cart overnight?
Maybe tonight compared to all the other nights, because I'm so unsettled about this. After everyone else makes camp and is set, I let you out. I'm like, I'm not gonna here. I'm not gonna leave you trapped in that cage.
You're not afraid I'm going to run away?
If it shows up, I wouldn't blame you for running away. I will be right behind you.
If it shows up, what are you talking about?
That stone, that marker, this is where the Banshee shows up.
A banshee.
The Herald of Death. The spirit who comes to proclaim that death is arriving. You don't want to be near it. But all of them, I could try to warn them, but I say, Banshee, they'll just laugh at me. So the easy way out is just to let them deal with it.
Eloise is like trying not to laugh at you because she doesn't want to get thrown back into her cage, but she's clearly not taking you very seriously either. But she is grateful to be out of her cage.
I mean, it may not. It was just a risk I didn't want to have to take. So
You're a superstitious sort. I'll say that.
in these woods, definitely. But hopefully we are not awoken by screams in the night. And I think I pass you one of my blankets, Eloise, and kind of just tuck up, shivering a little bit. I think that's
Armand.
So I think at some point, as we're making our evening preparations, I think I make my way to Hayden. And I come over and say, Sir Hayden, how are you this evening?
I'm well, brother, but it seems if we are not going to use our guide's advice, we may as well not have him.
Would you take his stead?
I'm happy to camp here as any other place, but he said he'd prefer not to be here. If something goes wrong, we'll be fools to pay a man for a service and not take it.
What do you fear would happen this evening?
I don't fear much in these woods.
I've noticed over the days You seem to favor one hand over the other. Is there a reason for that?
I'm right-handed.
This seems a little bit more.
Well, my left hand is good for holding a shield or a reins or whatever, but not much else.
Hmm. What led you to that sad state of affairs?
I suppose I grabbed the wrong burning branch. I'm not a prophet.
They do say that some people have been, well, those who have certain deformities have been touched by something. And although they're deformed, they're better in other ways.
I wasn't. That's a strange line of reasoning, brother. If I chopped off your arm, would you be suddenly more blessed by God? Wounds are terrible things. I don't think we can make them into some kind of divine favor just by wishing it so.
Oh, I see. I did not know that it was something you came through in battle. I had thought this was something
No,
of...
I literally grabbed a burning bush, brother, and my hand is burnt.
I see. What made you do such a thing?
I suppose I was following the wishes of the Mother Church.
I must have missed that reading in the scripture of telling us to grab burning bushes.
Oh, I think these were very direct instructions from a particular member of the church, not the letters of St. Paul to the Corinthians or anything like that. I'm surprised you don't know me. I'm sure your your order was at this particular event in Anik. Maybe 20 years ago, there was a witch was being burnt, but well, someone had to pull her out after she recanted her confession.
So you were the one.
You would have thought such an act would have seen me favor in life since, but not one iota in the 20 years past have I gotten any favor from anyone.
So you do know, or maybe you don't, that after she was pulled from the flames and brought back to health after many months, she disappeared, having killed everyone in her household.
Do you think that's why people show me such disfavor, because I saved a murderer? Perhaps it was the the abbot of your order who should be so disfavored for telling me to pull her out. I don't pass any judgment on him. It's not my job. I'm a sworn knight. I serve.
It's funny because I have heard the abbot tell this story on a number of occasions, and he has never said that he told you to do that.
Well, the abbot is a political creature. He would never tell stories to favor his own position, would he?
I sense that's not something. Well, no matter.
Tell me, brother, if she had recanted her confession and I had not pulled her from the flames, what would have happened to her soul?
She would have been damned. You need to watch out for those touched by the devil. They sometimes can say things that make you think one thing, but it isn't that way. I think that's good.
My scene is going to be with myself and Eloise. We're working our way through the wood. It's daytime, but even though it's daytime, it's still quite dark because the canopy of trees is very thick, right? We've stopped. Eloise needs to go to the bathroom, and I'm escorting her a little ways off the path to go do that. And in this scene, David, I'd like to explore. I have a question that's like, how did I know you before this?
Yeah.
And you have a question that's, what happened to your family?
Mhm.
I think. And I think, like, I'd like to say this is kind of out of character or whatever, but I would like to say that maybe like your brother, maybe like I was friends with your brother and we hung out and stuff, but then maybe like the plague took the family or whatever. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, cool. And so we haven't really broached this subject yet. So on this journey, but I'm taking you out of the woods, and keeping with our threatening tone, I like when you aren't really like paying attention. I'm kind of behind you. I like spin you around and push you up against a tree, and I put my big gauntleted glove on your neck, and I say, "Listen to me, Eloise. It's been a long time, and at the outset, I will say that I don't believe in witchcraft, and I don't care whether you are guilty of it or not guilty of it. But the only thing I know for sure, the only thing sticking in my craw, the thing I can't shake, is how your whole family died of plague, but you survived. How do you explain that?"
What do you want me to say, Thorn? That I have some trick to avoid the plague? I don't remember any of that. I remember them asking me over and over again. I remember them demanding of me through pain and suffering if I was the cause. And I remember agreeing with them when they insisted that I was.
How insistent were they?
And like I look at your gauntleted hand and I'm pushed up against this tree, and I'm just like, there's little that you could do to me that would match what they have already done.
So then they extracted your confession through pain, through torture. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Do you recant now to me? Would you like to say that it was not true, that you're not a witch?
I know you don't even believe in witchcraft, so what difference would it make if I were to tell you this?
I don't believe in witchcraft, and I do believe the church is filled with despicable liars and hypocrites. And I know firsthand that its agents use methodologies that can only be described as unchristian. And yet, they all died. Your mother died. Your father died. Your 2 little sisters died. Your brother James died. And your brother William died. And yet you survived.
And you think I would not have done anything to see them escape?
Did you?
Then? What could I possibly do?
And I kind of like lean back and I say, why did they drag you in the first place? Who made the accusation?
They found me among the bodies when
And
they
what
came.
were you doing among the bodies?
I don't remember. But there's no reason that I need to be burned. Even the priest doesn't think that he's ever heard of a story of a woman who was a witch and didn't know it.
Then recant to me. I am an agent of the church. Begin your true confessional now. Tell me you are not a witch. Say you take it back.
I can't because I don't know. But there's no reason I need to burn. Just look, just let me go.
I'm going to bring you back to the cage because that's what I'm being paid to do. To see you to Lindisfarne.
Then what would ever change your mind? Even if I did recant, you would not be paid more to not see me burn.
If you think you shouldn't burn, then you should take a stand. You should assert your convictions that you're not guilty, and yet you won't do it. I find that troubling.
I don't know what happened, and I don't know what I did, and I'm not going to damn my soul because I believe in such things, though you may not, by asserting one way or the other at this point. I know when the holy fathers and brothers sought my confession through their means that I said that I was, so it seems the safest course of action. I don't, for my eternal soul.
Maybe you should burn anyway then. Rid the world of your stupidity. Finish your piss. Let's go.
Maybe I should tell them all what you did to my brother.
And I I give you like a real sideways glance, and I kind of I grab you up and I say, speak those words, Eloise, and whether we burn you or not will be something of a moot point.
There's nothing you can do to me that would be worse than the flames or worse than my soul being lost to the fire.
But there are things I can do to you that are certainly worse than what the priest did to you to extract your ridiculous confession. And then I just back off and let you finish your business. I'll take you back to the cage. See you.
So it's Hayden's scene. I think maybe the next morning. It's been a quiet night. maybe Sir Hayden is down by a stream getting water or just taking a piss or something like that first thing in the morning, and he is getting up to head back to camp. And if it's all right, maybe he meets Sir Thorn on the game track on the way back up to the camp. And they've been traveling for what, 2 weeks maybe, and there's been a few words, the odd snipe, but nothing with just them talking.
Are we exploring why you despise me?
I think so.
Out of character, what is it? Just so I know where to go with this.
I have a feeling, this is just, I had a couple of thoughts there, but I think maybe Hayden vouched for Thorn to sign up for the crusade.
Oh, and then I was a deserter. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. Do you think it's commonly known that you deserted, or you've turned back up and everyone assumes that you did your duty?
I think it's maybe. I think it's known among like soldier types, maybe not like generally. So.
Okay. So I think then Hayden definitely knows.
Yeah.
Torn.
Hayden.
I'm surprised to see you got a gig with the church after your last one.
Well, I mean, this is a very, very important mission, and someone who knows how to use a sword should probably be on it. So I guess I'm who was available. And someone who is, not a cripple as well.
True, I suppose. Although, it's a woman in a cage. I don't think we're going to need your undoubted battle-proven prowess.
Well, nevertheless, there are lots of dubious characters. Our guide, for example, Brother Armand, whose secrets run deep, I assure you. And, well, roadmen, road agents, all sorts of things. You never know what kind of trouble you can get up to. And, well, I'm happy to help the church in this endeavor. It brings me great pleasure to be of service to the faith.
So tell me this. If you're so keen to prove yourself, how did you leave witnesses to your betrayal?
You are speaking about the Crusades, I assume.
Unless there's another betrayal we should be aware of.
I'm sure I've racked up a few. But the one that I know you're all wound up about, listen, Hayden, I consider you a man of no particularly noticeable sophistication. I consider you to be, well, let's just say, something of an old fool. And I don't expect you to understand things like the heart. I don't expect you to understand things like love and romance. I expect you to wake up every morning like you do, have your sausage and egg, put on your boots and your armor and your sword, which has seen very little battle, and go about doing your business and never ask questions and never challenge authority and never even possibly entertain the notion of challenging this worldview that we all seem to share. Everyone but me. I'm forward thinking. I don't care if people know I abandoned the Crusades. I haven't suffered for it. I haven't been brought to account, and I don't expect I will be, because I'm 10 times smarter than all of you. I was born too early. That's the way I look at it. I'll manage as best I can. And this ridiculous life.
Tell me, what is this sophisticated worldview? I mean, if this is the kind of job that you're pulling, same as me, a broken down old codger, your plan isn't going to very well, is it?
Touche. So what do you think about Eloise? You think she is actually a witch?
I don't know. I mean, she can't confess, didn't she?
Yeah, she confessed. When the time comes,
When the time comes and
you're
they
gonna do
put
the
the hot
business.
irons to us, we will confess to anything they want us to, right?
True enough. What happens if she recants in the pyre? Will you drag her out from the fire?
I think that's a young man's game.
No, you got one more hand left, are you sure?
I need that for other things.
I bet you do. Lonely life that you live. Well.
So I think it's your turn.
I find her to be almost impossibly insufferable. If she burns, it's just one less boring, pious person to have to cope with in this world.
You should really make inquiries with the brother as to why this has to take place in Lindisfarne. I mean, I'm from up there. It's god awful. It's windswept, cold, rainy in the summertime, if you can call that summer. It's almost like Wales. It's that bad.
Well, maybe I will, maybe I won't. I intend to keep my head down for the remainder of this journey and get the job done, Hayden. And I'm not thrusting my hands into a fire for that girl. And I will just ride ahead of you at that point.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's seen.
And Eloise, you're the last framer.
So this will be who do I want in this scene? Everyone can be in this scene, but what has happened is I have been let out of the cage because we're having to get it over some particularly gnarled roots and things, and any weight that can be taken out of it makes it easier to get over that stuff. And just as we are getting that across, we hear another horse arrive, and it is this man that I previously described. Looks like a crusader, and he's riding on a war horse. He was reading that letter. But he arrives, and Sir Thorin, you will know him from the campaign. And he specifically has come here to call you out.
I guess someone who's maybe not as important in the scene should play that character, right?
I can keep up with that character, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, let's kick it off.
So through the gloom and trying to get this rickety cart over the top of all these roots, you'll hear that the thundering of a large horse's hooves, and then they come to a stop, and out of the gloom you hear armored feet hit the ground, and this man comes out through the fog. And he sees the father first, or the brother Armand first. Is this the party that was transporting the witch Eloise?
It is, good sir. What
I
business might you have with us?
I have been sent from the Holy Lands to call an account for someone I believe is here with you all. Thorn. Is Thorn among your party?
I'll step forward. Sir Edric, you're looking sufficiently pious and pompous this afternoon.
Yes, and you are looking as disgraced as ever.
And yet I am here in the employ of the church with the protection of all that implies. Isn't that right, Brother Armand?
Of course.
Isn't that right, Sir Hayden?
Sir Edric, I do not know you, but if your aim is to interfere with this group, you will not face one sword, but two.
I don't think
Sir
we need to
Edric,
get towards
I will
violence.
advise you that that second sword isn't anything to be too worried about, but mine is quite fearsome, and it's probably best if you just turn around and go.
You are going to stand in the way of the church's justice, sir.
I am
Hayden.
in the employ of the church right now. It would seem we have something of a jurisdictional problem, sir.
They have dispatched me for you. I am not to interfere with your mission. We need not come to blows here. You can hand over your weapon and come and face justice.
I will do no such thing, sir. I fear that the mission I am on now is incredibly redemptive. Turning over a new leaf. I think your employers would understand that.
He says, then there is nothing for it then. And he will unsheath his sword.
And I look over to Ham, a guide of dubious character, and I'm curious what he's up to and how he's responding.
I am behind the cart, opposite of all of this commotion.
Mm-hmm.
Ostensibly still attempting to kind of haul it over this maze of roots that have overgrown the road, but not really trying so hard as much as I am hiding and peering over the cart, listening in.
Sir Edric, I give you one final warning, sir. This is not going to end well for you.
He's like a head taller than you. Like he's a perfectly massive person. God will protect me.
Oh, well, if that's what I'm up against, then let's do this.
So I think Sir Hayden has gotten onto his horse and puts the horse in between the two disagreeing parties. Edric, you're standing in the way of a holy mission. Your petty revenge can wait a week or two.
It's not my revenge, sir. And he will like offer up to you this letter that has all kinds of official seals and things on it.
And they send one guy.
They knew who they were sending.
So I guess I'm looking at it and I'm riding the horse around the back of Sir Edric and going, well, without a squire, there's not even anyone to hold your horse. Like if someone were to just, smack its ass with a sword, you're left in the middle of the country with nothing to do. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to get on your horse. You're going to ride with us, or you're going to go back to your whoever and meet us on the road back.
And he's staring down you, Thorn. Are you just... And he still has his blade out. Have you drawn your blade or anything?
No, not yet. But I will, if he's not standing down, if he's not agreeing, I will take out my sword and say, "It's all right, Sir Hayden. I don't want any blood to be spilled this day. Certainly not on this holy mission. Brother Armand shouldn't have to see that. Eloise shouldn't have to see that, even though she's witch." And I set my sword down on the ground, and I hold my hands out and I say, "I'm ready to be taken into your custody, sir."
And he will put his sword away and reach to pick up your sword.
And as soon as he does, I just I take 2 or 3 steps forward. I grab him by the back of the head and I just take out my boot knife and just slice his throat and spill his blood on the dirt.
I think that you attempt to do that, and he was ready for it, and he just brings the gauntleted fist up and it just blocks your knife, and he says, "Traitor as always, aren't you?"
We have to end this because I have to continue being in the game. So,
and you'll hear a cry out from him when he does that. From behind him, Eloise is holding Ham's knife in both hands, and she has just plunged it into him.
Interesting. And I kind of step back and I say, "Huh. Well, that was a freebie." And I kind of step back a little bit and I point to Brother Armand. "You better say your rights or whatever, and we better get out of here."
And Eloise just drops the knife and backs away. This guy's not dead, but he's bleeding on the ground and not moving very well. He probably will die.
I will go down to him and start doing the rites, as it were.
And I'll just kind of look at Eloise and I'll say, "Oh, you've really done it now. We're gonna burn you twice as good." And then
I think we hang them for murder, Thorn. Is it before or after we burn them? I don't know.
I don't know, but I feel really sorry for her. And I say, "Come along, Ham. Quit your cowering. Let's get out of here."
But saved by a girl, Thorn. It looks good on you, huh?
I like the idea of a woman taking charge, asserting herself. It's good. It's good, Eloise. No thanks to you, by the way, I say to Hayden.
Well, if the lot of you are done with your machismo, come help me lift this goddamn cart.
After which I think someone is going to, or many someones are going to need to help me with his body.
See?
Or are we bringing it with us to Lindisfarne?
We can call it scene there. But I am curious, did you just abandon his body in the woods?
I mean, I probably would have been
road,
pushing.
At least, right?
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have been pushing for us to bury him and or bring him to Lindisfarne, one of the two.
Yeah. That seems, seems reasonable.
Yeah, he has people. Either they're going to come looking for him, or we're going to tell them where they can pick up the body for a proper burial.
And who knows what we're going to do with this extra horse?
Sell it for £60 and make a mint.
Awesome. I think that's it for Act 2. So now all right. After these scenes, we grab it says 10 to 15-minute break. I don't need that long of a break. We'll just take 5. And then we move on to Act 3, Clifftop Pass. The tone for Act 3 is tumultuous. And that's what we'll do. So let's take 5. All right. So this Act 3 is Clifftop Pass. The tone for the act is tumultuous. I read the following passage. As the companions trudge the narrow path, loose stones slip and tumble towards the turbulent ocean below, while the rain lashes in the wind, almost horizontally against them. Far below, the waves crash hungrily against the cliff face, willing the companions to take a wrong step and be swallowed whole. As the journey's end grows closer, the companions must think, are they doing the right thing? Is this girl capable of causing such pain? Does she deserve the fate that awaits her? Even if she does, can the companions afford to do it? Who do you trust? Will you be able to leave Lindisfarne with a clear conscience and your beliefs intact when Eloise's absolution comes? And now, each player, excluding Eloise, takes it in turn to make a confession about events from before the journey, such as the consequences of a tough decision their character has made. Use the questions on your character sheet for inspiration. Please note that this is said by the player and only revealed to the other players. It is not said by their character. And we can just go in whatever order, whoever wants to go first. I'll do mine, though, because I think mine's fairly obvious based on how I've been playing it. The confession for Sir Thorn is that he is a catamite, which is a derogatory term for homosexual during this time period. And I think that he had a lover in the lands of the Crusades, a Moorish lover, and he would not see them struck down by the Crusaders, and so he turned him loose. And then when that was discovered, he was basically going to be put on trial, and so he defected. Pretty straightforward, and eventually started doing work for Brother Armand before eventually returning back up to England. It's my confession.
So I think Brother Armand's dog showed up. Hold on. I mean, I think as is somewhat alluded to previously, got I guess a prostitute pregnant, but I have a feeling, I don't know, I'm not sure how best to make this work. I kind of have this idea in my head that he had somehow been kind of taught or convinced or something like that that priests couldn't get women pregnant, but if they could, they were like somehow like touched by the devil or something like that. So I think that scene that we saw in the beginning was the first time that he had seen the prostitute, and the child like looked very much like him, and so he kind of just assumed that, and he's kind of terrified that
you're demonic, right?
That either that he's been touched by the devil, or that like someone might find out or something.
So Hayden's confession is the household that Brother Armand had referred to earlier as having been killed by this escaping witch 20 years ago. They were, I guess, coaching that woman to, make a proper confession again. And she didn't escape by herself. Hayden broke into the house where she was being kept and killed them, or most of them, and helped her escape himself, because he did not believe that she was a witch.
Ham has a history of taking random jobs that he is horribly unqualified for and abandoning them when it gets too hard. Especially when things freak him out. He'll throw his hands up, say everything is doomed, and disappear.
All right. And now, starting with Eloise, we just go back to scene framing here on this narrow clifftop pass with the storms and the ocean below.
And our prompt is foreboding or
Tumultuous.
tumultuous.
Stormy, chaotic.
I think that this is hiding in like a little cave, just to try and wait out part of the storm because it's too bad right now to pass. But they're like small caves, so not everyone could fit in each particular cave. So we're kind of split up. But she's stuck there with Sir Hayden. You seem like the only one who kind of knows what I'm going through, or that appreciates any part of my place in all of this.
How can I appreciate your place in this when you don't? You claim not to know what's happened before.
But you are pious, and aside from the priest, you seem to be the only one who is. You would even help your enemy, Sir Thorn.
Yeah, that's a misguided sense of duty. I should have. Well, I don't know what I should have done. I mean, if you were to tell me one way or the other what you did before, I might have an opinion.
It doesn't matter anymore now. At least now I'm a murderer, and I know that I'm guilty of a crime.
True. But that's a whole different kind of crime. You'd have to be brought to trial. You'd have to find witnesses going to testify against you. To be honest, I don't think you'd find very many, because they'd be testifying against their own incompetence and their own interest.
No, I suppose I'm just...
You're worrying about being hanged in 6 months' time when you should be worrying about being burnt at the stake in a week.
It's all the same. I'm just as guilty as, well, as Sir Thorn, at least. You saw him move against the knight. He was going to murder him too.
Sure, but I think Edric would have killed him.
Maybe.
Hey, listen, if you want to end it right now, you just run out. You're 3 or 4 yards away from your death. You won't feel a thing. Your brain will be dashed across the rocks before you know it.
I can't commit suicide.
Oh, because that would end up with you going to hell. Yeah, well, that'd be a
Maybe.
pity, because, witches go to hell, right?
The priest said that my soul could still be safe. Is that not true?
For confessing to a crime you did not commit. I think that's false testimony. I think that's a crime against God. You did it under oath, right?
I don't know if I did it or not. And I just start like banging my head against the bars of the cage. Just like, I don't know.
Then why did you confess?
Those were the words that came out of my mouth. I had no control and no memory. You've heard what they do. You've heard how they do it in Lindisfarne. They gag the witches there. They don't want any more of us recanting at the stake.
That's a good rule. I wish they had that 20 years ago. So this is your chance, is what you're telling me. Call Brother Armand in and tell him that you do not know why you made a confession. You don't know the crimes of which you are accused of.
But what if it is me? What if it is all my fault? They found me with my family all around me, dead of the plague, and I was untouched.
People survive the plague all the time. Everyone isn't dead. Some people are saved.
If you were me, if you didn't know, what would you do?
I would not have confessed. More to the point, that night Ham let you out in the middle of the woods, I would have run. There's nowhere to run now except to the cliff.
Ooh, that feels like a good line to end on.
Yeah.
All right, Hayden, we're going clockwise.
I think it's the same night when we're taking shelter. Hayden has gone out because the atmosphere in Eloise's hollowed out cave is something he can't put up with for much longer. And he grabs Brother Armand to ostensibly to tag out, but he wants to talk to him before that happens. Brother Armand?
Sir Hayden, is it already time to switch?
Well, I've had it up to here. Talk to me about this woman's confession. Is it as dubious as it seems to me? I'm a simple fellow with a bad reputation for ill judgment, but it seems unsafe.
Unsafe?
She confessed to something, but in the same breath, she says she does not remember any of it. Has she told you this?
I've heard this, but I was not there when she made her confession. I was told by the abbot that she confessed, and thus she was to be taken to Lindisfarne.
It just seems entirely unsatisfactory. She's confessed to something she has no memory of. She is holding to that confession because she was told that her confession would save her soul. But if she's confessing to something she hasn't done, then it could be quite the opposite.
Why are you so concerned about her?
Well, if I bring her to this death and put her soul into eternal hell, am I not culpable? If I have doubts, I must speak to the authorities, which is you.
You have a lot of faith in the power that I hold in the church.
Well, was this mission not entrusted to you and we to be your companions? You're in charge.
I am indeed. But I have a feeling that this group was selected for a very specific reason.
Well, apart from the obvious?
I think, at least for you and I'm uncertain that the abbot has our best interests in mind.
Why would he be ill-favored towards you?
I made a mistake in the past, and it has cost me quite a lot to keep that mistake hidden. And he has fear that it might look badly upon the church if that should come out. I don't know if he wants me to complete this mission successfully.
So you think you've been sent here to fail?
Or not even to, or at the very least not to come back.
So just keep your head down and do what's expected of you.
I would not say that, Sir Hayden. I would say I am trying to figure out how best to move the situation to my advantage.
Oh, this politics thing again. I forgot. Well, I suppose I should wish you luck.
What do you know of Sir Thorn?
Well, I have a letter here from some duke or other claiming that he abandoned the Crusades. But I'm sure you knew that. That was common knowledge. Well, with certain groups of people, I suppose.
I'd heard such things.
I'm sure the abbot must have known that.
And what of this Ham character?
I trust him as far as I can smell him, which thankfully in this wind is not very far at all.
We do seem like a good bunch of refuse to get rid of.
Well, then we better stop letting Eloise out of the cage if we think. What's the worst thing that could happen? We let her escape, and we are scapegoats. People love blaming those.
No, it would be worse if she was a witch.
Well, if she escapes, then presumably whether she's a witch or not will matter not one iota.
And this plague will continue.
This plague will continue, and the church will get richer.
I'm good.
I'm going to frame my scene with Ham. I think we're still on Clifftop Pass. I think it's probably around the same time. And I have pulled Ham beneath a rock overhang, just me and him.
Oh, wait, what is it?
I say, listen to me. And just at the outset, I'm interested in exploring the question of like, what would it take for you to betray the group, right?
Okay.
I say, listen to me. I don't care whether you think Eloise is guilty or not. Your opinion on the matter is, frankly, irrelevant to me. I don't think she did it. I don't think she's a witch. I think she is a simpleton who was convinced that she's done something terrible. And now, because she completely lacks the faculty to defend herself, she's going to burn alive. And for reasons that I will keep to myself, I don't want to see her burn alive. But when the time comes, when she is tied to the pyre, I intend to do my part. I am already in it deep. I intend to be there with the torch, and I want to make sure everyone sees me doing my appointed task. And I think at the end of the day, Hayden, he's too much a coward. He won't sacrifice his right hand for her. And Armand, likewise, he will do nothing to save her. He's a creature of politics, and he has too many marks on his record as it is, spiritual or otherwise. But you owe us nothing. You are a pagan, as best I can tell, and frankly, not the sort of person that mingles with polite society. You can fade away into the woods or the holes, muddy, stinking filth, wherever you go, whatever you do. You should be the one to stop this. You should be the one to help her when we're getting ready to burn her. You should do it. Let us save our face, but you save her life. What would it take, Ham? What would it take for you to make that decision, to take that action?
Well, you're right that I have no skin in this game. But where would I go? How would I not just be immediately struck down for my obvious sin of letting a witch go?
If you disrupt the burning, I will, in my way, I will see you to safety. I will make sure you escape the Holy Island. Fear not. I'm very, very good at slipping away from the authorities.
Mm-hmm. Despite the tide and the presence of the church and the storm, this is not a good storm.
a lizard. You are a vermin that crawls about on your belly, praying to your little animal vermin gods, and taking good Christian coin wherever you can find it. You will slip into the darkness like a plague rat. No one will care about you or where you went. And you get to be the hero.
Hero. Like you?
I have never claimed to be a hero. In fact, I have
Then
no
why-
intention of saving her life, except
Then why do you care about your
indirectly.
image so much?
Because I don't want to hang. I already have. You saw what happened back there in Hangman's Woods, ironically, with Edric. I need to put on a good show. So what will it take? Ham.
I'm unconvinced. But if you could get me to safety,
I guarantee
set
it.
me on my way.
I guarantee it.
We
There
will
will
see.
be a moment. There will be a moment after in the chaos of you having freed her. There will be a moment where no one will know what's going on, and I'll pretend to chase after you, and just say you gave me the slip after I've seen you off to safety. And then you can go back to crawling about in the dirt, worshiping frogs or bears or whatever it is you worship.
This seems awfully cheap of you.
What do you mean?
You have no power to ask me to do this, so you think I need your help to run away? I could leave all of you here. I could leave all of you here right now.
Then is there a price? Speak it, man. I'll do my best to pay it.
Either you convince me to go along with your plan, or you convince me why she must live.
Because I do not think she did it. I do not think there is such a thing as witchcraft. I do not think that the people who extracted this confession are good people.
The church kills thousands.
Plenty of pagans too.
What's different about this drop in the bucket?
Have you no sense of outrage that your kind has also been, at different times in our history, persecuted by the church?
She's a Christian. At least I think. She is certainly not like me.
Maybe she is. Maybe she's not a Christian.
A Londoner.
Let's just say her family, they weren't exactly what I would call strictly pious people. Her brother, William, did quite a bit of squire work for me, for example. Quite a bit.
Some people need jobs. I don't see what that has to do.
You're as thick as two short planks. I don't know what to be done with it. So you will not help then? You will just let her burn?
We will see.
They look back at you and I say, I really hope you're able to keep your footing on Clifftop Pass and don't go tumbling down to the rocks, Ham. Be very, very careful. I'm good with that.
Yeah. I just give you a really long side eye as you walk away.
So I think I want to have a scene with Eloise. I think after switching with Hayden, you and I are in the cave together. And I ask, what do you remember?
Well, I remember you, if you don't remember me.
Go on.
It was a long time ago, wasn't it? I was just a little girl then, but my mom would have done anything for coin. I don't hold it against you or anything. It's not like it's important any now. My little sisters are dead. So I guess you don't have to worry about it either. Do you pray for their souls ever?
And I think at this point he looks much more sickly than he normally does. And it's obvious that he didn't know that. I had been I did not know that. The abbot said that he had been watching out for them.
Well, yes. He did have one last loose end to tie up, I guess, as I'm seeing all these pieces finally fit together.
I
Tell me, priest, if I am a murderer and I burn, but I have confessed to God for any and all crimes I might have ever committed, will my soul be saved or not?
think he's like still someplace in his own head. That is what I've been taught to believe.
Then I guess it does not matter what politics your abbot plays at. Though I am terrified.
What? And I think he starts getting emotional and like turning away from you and kind of like talking to himself, asking like, was this my fault? Did I do this?
It's okay, priest. You can whisper all your dark secrets to the witch.
And I think he quickly like runs out of the cave and grabs whoever's nearby and just like makes as though he's going to throw up or something like that and have them go and take over for him. And I'm good with that.
All right. Ham.
So we see the night pass, and the rain does not let up. The storm is still coming, as strong as ever. But I think we just decide that we have to press on. It's a combination of being unable to spend more time in close quarters. It's wanting to just be able to put all of this behind us as soon as possible, and we push ahead. But as we set out into the storm, and I am, for once on this journey, paying close attention to the reins of the horse of the carriage on this treacherous terrain. The thunder and lightning picks up. And there is a particularly close clap of thunder, that deep booming resonance when it's right above you. And then all of a sudden, I hear this wet thud, and then another wet thud, and a couple more in the distance, and a high-pitched screech, like honk. And we look up, and there are birds falling out of the sky. Whether it's the storm or something else, I look up terrified. And I think I just cry out, cover your heads, cover your heads.
Yeah.
These wet thuds continue.
And Eloise just starts laughing. Her face is, her hair is streaked to her face, and there's no way she can escape the rain. But the birds can't hit her, and she's in her cage.
Something is not right. Something is horribly not right. I think my initial reaction is to turn back to you, Eloise, and say, "What, you laughing at this? This sign?"
Your birds are not singing anymore, are they, Ham?
No, they are not. They have not sung in many days. Or you, brother, you lead us on a journey that is obviously angering the world. I'm like hyperventilating a little bit. As we journey island, this pit of hell. Why? Why do we go?
Some of us go.
Want to.
I think we all have our own reasons. Many of them financial, many of them loyalty.
I've already been paid.
And I do not know why you go. I think that's something that you.
Going back.
Say that again, Chris. You broke up just a
The
little bit.
pittance I'll get if I go all the way back. There's another sick thud, and I'm like cowering beneath my arms. I'll get you there. But we should not stop.
You're the one who has stopped. Good guide.
I just kick the reins. And the carriage creaks. And I'm just muttering constantly under my breath now. But I think the birds are done falling.
All right. Act 4. Lindisfarne. The tone for this act is decisive. We don't have a barrack, so if just someone who hasn't read yet, Brother Armand, do you want to read this part?
Yep. It is Sunday morning, and the sun bathes the land in clear golden light as it breaks the horizon. The journey's end is in sight. A well-worn path leads down towards the coast and towards our destination. Lindisfarne, also known as the Holy Island, is off the northeast coast of England, where St. Aidan founded a great monastery. It can only be reached by causeway at low tide.
And now each player, we'll say starting with Brother Armand's and going counterclockwise, adds a detail about Lindisfarne. What does it look like? What is the atmosphere like around this holy place? Are there signs of previous visits? Then, after we've each added that detail, we may decide to frame a scene if we wish. You don't have to. This scene will take place up until Eloise faces her absolution. The scene framer describes the location and who is present, including any minor characters. There's no turn order, so this is the last chance to answer any outstanding questions and to sway opinions regarding Eloise. Then, once every player who wishes a scene has had one, Eloise's player finally has her introduction scene. Show Eloise's personality in a situation before she was captured and describe her appearance and show a little bit about who she is. Then we go to absolution. But for now, starting with Brother Armand and then continuing with myself, Hayden, Eloise, and Ham, just a detail about Lindisfarne itself.
I think although the sun is shining brightly, as Ham had mentioned before, this is a wind, no, not Ham. Hayden had mentioned before, this is a wind and rain swept place. I think there are very few stones that are not rounded quite extensively. Any castles or buildings made of stone here are well worn down and have that kind of old green moist tinge to them.
And there are lines of flagellants, men marching in a line, reading passages from the Bible and striking their backs, striking themselves with knotted whips. This sound, this tick-tock, this back and forth between like Bible verse and the thwack the whip is something that's quite prevalent.
The land here is almost uninhabited. There's very little sign of certainly no lords. There might be peasants. And if you look out to the northwest, it's Scotland, but there's no difference in the landscape between there and here. It's all much of a muchness. It's like we're beyond kind of the realms of kings and queens and whatever. We're just out in the middle of nowhere, where maybe only God or maybe only the devil can reign.
It'll be Eloise.
There is a constant smell of cooking meat in the air, unceasing. It smells like pork that's been on the fire too long.
Looking down to the shoreline and the path out, you can see, despite the constant tides, very clear wagon wheel tracks, deep cut into the sand and dirt, leading out to Lindisfarne. And if you look closely, you can tell that they are fairly freshly recut. Obviously, lots of carriages make this journey frequently.
And now we frame scenes in any order. If you wish, you don't have to do a scene. But if you just want to tie up any loose ends or make any other arguments for or against Eloise, now is the time to do it, including you, Eloise. Sounds like you can get a scene as well. If I have a thought for one, I don't mind going first unless somebody else wants to.
Go ahead, dude.
Mine is pretty simple. It's just a quick dictated scene. I make a great show of piety when we arrive. I go to the church and any other like sacred places on the island where there are lots of people looking, and I get on my knees and I say my prayers, and I even have tears going down my eyes. I am here feeling the Lord inside of me. That's fine.
I'd like to have a scene with Hayden.
Sure.
Maybe this is once we're there, and I can finally be off that damn cart for a change. And maybe you notice me staring at your left hand. Because we haven't talked much at all on the trip. I don't know much about you.
I think Hayden notices you looking and ignores it almost, and says something like, "Well, you made it. You can wash your hands of us now."
Yeah, that was one impressively shitty trip.
If there were more of us, I'm pretty sure there would have been a book going on when you would have cut and run.
Maybe I should have been playing bookie.
Next time you do it, you should start something up.
Good idea. I don't know.
Well,
it's for whatever reason I wanted to see this through. You ever You ever felt like you just needed to do something? You didn't really know why?
I'm sure you've heard the story. You've been eating at campfire or pissing in the hedgerows for a month now. Someone must have told you the story.
Not beyond implications. I know you've done something. I know you don't regret it. That's about it.
How do you know I don't regret it?
It's a feeling. You might regret other parts of it, but I don't think you regret the actual action.
Well, for the long and the short of it, I guess, is I don't think people should pay for what they haven't done. That seems kind of revolutionary coming from a knight, maybe.
Can't disagree with it. But sometimes at this point, you know how little Christian I am. My grandfather would tell me stories of rituals and celebrations. You Christians seem to love fire as much as us.
You know, people still hang horseshoes over their door. That's been around for longer than Christ.
Yeah. I guess the question is it ever the proper course to let it burn? Yeah. Forget I asked. I don't expect you to have some deep philosophy. I just needed to get it off my chest.
You're thinking of doing something stupidly brave, are you?
Not in the slightest. Cowardly at best. You know me. But we're here. So I guess we'd better get started. And I think I'd walk away.
I might do my scene now. As Ham walks away, Hayden fishes in below his mail shirt and pulls out a little pouch that was around his neck and kind of picks out a small, well-worn coin. He's remembering his father, who went on probably the last great crusade with King Louis IX to Tunis. You know, the last crusade to the Holy Land. Everything since then has been kind of, as Hayden would see it, wars of aggrandizement against pagans or whatever. This is a coin that was given to the survivors of that disastrous campaign, and this is the first time he's taken it out in probably years. I'm not sure if anyone else is nearby, but if they are, he's kind of shoving it back into the pouch and tucking it back under his shirt if they happen upon him.
Armand or Eloise, do you want scenes?
I think I will take a scene with you if you don't mind.
Sure. Where are we at?
I sense at some point while you are off doing your show of religiosity, I think I'll probably come up to you, and I probably still look fairly much kind of sicker and obviously pretty distraught. Sir Thorn, how you seem to be able to find your ways out of sticky situations. Is that something you still feel you are adept at?
I get off my knees and I stand up and I say, "You sound like you have something you want to confess, brother." I'm feeling particularly replete with the power of the Lord. Unfurl your troubles to me.
Don't give me that crap, Thorn.
This is kind of ironic, isn't it, in a way? I mean, here we are on the holy island of Lindisfarne, and you are going to burn the daughter of the woman you put a baby in. There's something positively twisted and yet appropriate about it all. I don't know. You know?
You make a lot of assumptions, Thorn.
I know what I know. I'm very familiar with that family. You know that. Whores and catamites. And witches, maybe. What are you trying to weasel your way out of, Brother Armand?
How would you feel if do you want her to burn?
No, but I will burn her.
Why?
Because I refuse, absolutely refuse to pay the ultimate price for her or for this system. I will not die because of anyone's fucked up beliefs. I tend to go along, get along, and keep doing what I do, living my life. And this is just a bump in the road. I'm going to do what it takes to show everybody around here that I'm on the straight and narrow.
So even if no one knew.
Even if no one knew what?
If you could do the right thing and get away with it, would you?
And by the right thing in this circumstance, you're saying rescue Eloise from the pyre.
Yes.
Lose a hand, like Hayden did.
What if you didn't have to lose a hand?
Going back to your original question, if I could do it and get away with it, would I do it? Maybe. But, you know, there's something to be gained by looking particularly pious right now. Besides, I think old Ham's going to come through for us. I've been talking to him. I think he's going to be the one to put an end to this. You know, Hayden won't do it. You and I will just do what we got to do, you know? Let Ham take care of it. I think I reached him.
So I think you have this, like, I think you see like kind of a face of kind of disgust come onto Armand's face, and he just leaves.
So nothing you want to confess then? I called you.
He says nothing and continues on his way.
Eloise, do you want a scene or you want to go straight to your introduction?
I'll have a scene with Ham. I think you and I have a moment alone. Like it might be in my cell and you've come to visit or something like that, just to, you know. So tell me, in what you believe, what is there for you after this life is over?
Different people believe different things.
What do you think?
I think your spirit might get called by a god or a greater spirit, but it also might not. You might just sit in the dirt. I don't know if that's any better than your Christian faith. There's a certain charm in the promises that they claim. I won't deny it.
Yes, I expect that I will be made to suffer for the wrongs that I have done here and in purgatory.
They're burning you for it.
Yes, well, they're burning me.
Is that not suffering enough? I don't know.
No.
What has Brother Armand told you?
I don't know. I expect that the burning will be the worst of it. But I'm still afraid. If you knew that you could face the fire and save your soul, and that it would ultimately be in a better place one day, would you?
If I genuinely had the fear of hell in me, the fiery pit that they claim it to be, I might be too much of a coward.
I guess the decision has already been made for me. Well, good luck out there. I hope the birds sing on your journeys from now on.
I'm sorry that the world lined up to dump all of this on you.
It is not.
Not that it does much good.
It's not your fault, but thank you all the same. Farewell.
And I think I turn without saying anything.
So let's do your introduction, and then we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back into the absolution.
Okay. So you see Eloise somewhat more cleaned up, and she is on her knees going up a staircase to a cathedral, just one step at a time, and putting her head on the ground, one step at a time, putting her head on the ground. And then she is about halfway up, and she just kind of snaps upright and looks like something has caught her attention, like something is wrong. And then she goes running down the steps. And I think of the priests and whoever is nearby that are observing this are just taking a note of it. She runs back to her small house and sees that all of her siblings and her mother are incredibly ill with the plague, and she just, you can see her just like nodding her hands. Eloise is just nodding her hands, like working herself up to something. And then she goes over to the bed and grabs the pillow out from underneath her mother and then just puts it over her mother's face. And one by one goes about the room. And then the door gets kicked in several, 20, 30 minutes later. And she is just on her knees crying. And church officials drag her out. Men with masks that are filled with flowers come in and drag her out.
All right. Let's take a quick bio break and come back and do the absolution. Okay, it's the absolution. This is a single scene where each player's character is present, if possible. Eloise is present and already bound and gagged and may no longer speak or move unless she is released by another player's character. If Eloise is to be burned, then the passages that follow are to be read in order. However, if the player currently reading wishes for the character to do something else, then they may stop reading and do so. The scene will then continue with free narration as with any other scene, with other characters reacting to help or hinder as they wish. Eloise might still be killed if someone makes it happen and no one else stops it. If it is reasonable to do so, continue reading from the passages. Minor characters can be referred to, but their actions are never effective without the support of a player's character. The scene must continue until Eloise's fate is revealed, either escape to freedom or her death. And so you're going to want to all be on PDF page 9, page 17 of the text. And where it just says, read from the passages. And it starts with Armand, then myself and Hayden and so forth. If there is no Beric, I think we just skip it. And then it goes to Ham. And then Eloise, if it gets to you, you may not stop. You must continue reading. Okay. And so, yeah, the first decision comes to you essentially, right, Armand? Like, are you going to read? Or are you going to do something different? Let's just proceed apace.
Let's see here. Sunbreak. I'm going to pull out a knife and start cutting her bonds. And assuming no one stops me, I'm going to take her and start running, assuming she will run with me.
If you begin cutting her bonds, in the text, I have her like, I'm supposed to carry her over there, right? Is that next? And I would like grab your hand and I would say, maybe this is when like no one's looking yet. I'll say, are you sure you want to do this, Brother Armand? It will be your death.
I've caused enough death. I won't let another one die because of my mistake.
I will set her down. And I think we're like in a little passage where no one can see us yet. And I will press you up against the wall and I will say, Ham is going to do it. If you do something now and we don't stop you, then we're all going to hang. Do you understand that?
I think he's going to like really fight you on this.
And I feel in character, the character feels fairly confident that Ham is going to do the right thing. And I want to see more of this show be done. Say one thing that would stay in my hand, and I will.
You've protected someone who's like family to you before. She is my family.
And I will step out of this little passage where presumably Hayden and Ham and maybe some others have gathered around the pyre, right? And I say, it will only be a minute. She wishes to make a last confession, our bond, and then. And so what do you do?
You broke up at the tail end.
Oh, sorry. I just step out and I tell the rest. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay. I step out and I just say, the witch says she wishes to make a further confession. Armand. And I'm giving them a moment of privacy to do that. They'll be along shortly.
I'm
And then
going to continue trying to untie her and try to run her out the other direction, assuming she'll come with me.
if Hayden or Ham suspect that I'm lying, and I do lie a lot, what do you do?
I think Hayden is certainly looking at Thorn, but I don't think he suspects something so much as he's just wondering, this doesn't sound like Thorn. If Thorn would just drag her out. The wheels are turning, but they're not turning quick enough to see exactly what's going on in the prison beyond.
What about you, Ham?
I think I'm confused, but not necessarily suspicious of anything. But I think I might notice if they do end up making a break for it. Only so many places.
You come in?
Yeah, so you unbind my hands and I pull the gag out of my mouth and I'm like, what are you doing?
We have to get out of here.
I deserve to die.
We both do. We all do. But not like this.
I think she will flee out the door with you.
To safety. Okay, then. Let's... We move to the epilogue.
Would I get a chance? Do you think in this, the way we set this up, would I have a chance to catch
Eloise?
Eloise as they run, or is it?
It might be kind of weirdly anticlimactic to like catch
Yeah,
her and drag her back.
No, not capture, just to
Catch a glimpse?
Yeah, I catch a glimpse. Yeah, and that's good enough.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get epilogue scene, so you can kind of say how it went for you. After the absolution scene is over and Eloise is either dead or free, then Eloise's player reveals the truth, innocent or guilty.
I have written down innocent.
Then each player, starting from the player to Eloise's right and working counterclockwise, narrates an epilogue for their character's story. Players will describe their character's future, or especially if the character is dead, it might be revealing flashback or some details about the character's legacy, but we're all alive. If Eloise was killed and she was revealed to be guilty, or if she was freed and revealed to be innocent, or if she dies by her own hand, then each epilogue scene can focus on a generally positive outcome for the character. So we're getting basically the generally positive epilogues, if we wish. And so it starts with going counterclockwise from Eloise with Ham.
I think I've maybe a while later made my way back for the first time in a long time to my hometown. And I'm sharing a pint with a family friend who probably thought I had been dead for a long time. You run away, you have some reputation that does get back, and they think you're dead. And we're mostly quiet until I finally break the silence, and I just ask, Do you think anyone ever wants to die? If you were sent to your death, but promised your salvation, would you ever really want to go along with it? And I think we just have this kind of uncomfortably long silence as the camera stays on the two of us and then kind of fades out.
Brother Armand.
I think we see Armand outside on some sort of green field, likely some sort of farm or farmland or something. But there's a house there. And there's a break in the clouds and the sun shines through it. And he nods his head and he looks back to the house, and there's someone in there. And I think the audience wants it to be Eloise, but I'll let that hang in the air unless Eloise wants to fill that in.
We see Thorn rather. We see Thorn in some sort of room in perhaps the Far East or somewhere in the Middle East. A tiled sort of like a tiled space with pillows laid all about and hookah pipes, or opium pipes possibly, like kind of available, and a bunch of people just lounging around. We see Armand, Thorn. Sorry, I keep saying Armand. We see Thorn, much older than when we took Eloise to the island. Old, enjoying the company of attractive young locals, getting very high on some sort of narcotic, and eventually just kind of dying of a heart attack in this room, forgotten by the people in London, by the church, and that's it.
For Hayden, I think we see a scene very soon after the absolution. The countryside is raised to hunt for this escaped witch and her the turned brother, and we have a scene where we see Sir Hayden searching by himself in the countryside And he sees the pair of fugitives hiding under a bridge or in the hollow of a stream, and he just turns away from them and waves the all clear to the rest of the search parties.
Finally, Eloise.
This is probably a few weeks, maybe at most a few months later, in the woods that we passed through with the fog and everything. There is some travelers that are coming through there, and they come upon a young woman who has fixed a noose around her neck over the top of a tree and has hung a sign around her neck that says murderer. And she is standing on top of a little stool. And as this group gets closer, she looks down at the stool, like seeming to want them to do something. And then she just looks at them and just says, "Please." That's the end.
On that cheery note, let's take a few minutes to wind down and discuss the game. We
Do
can
you want to do that here, or do you want to do it on Discord?
We can do it here. It's fine. I don't have time to jump on a Discord anyway.
Okay.
It's just a couple minutes here. It'd be great. Thoughts on how it went?
Everybody exhale.
I kind of knew that Eloise was innocent of witchcraft, at least, like pretty early on, and I don't feel like I ever wavered from that. But I did think it was interesting that you threw in the wrench of she's still guilty of murder twice or many times, right? And so there was a part of me that I kind of felt like, well, I'm going to lean into just Thorn being kind of a self-preserving asshole right now, because I mean, she did commit murder, so like if it doesn't turn out well for her, c'est la vie, But yeah, I thought that was an interesting wrinkle.
I really have to just give a prop to David, because that, like, hooking into my backstory was just freaking key. That solidified
it was a really
in
good
my
move.
mind. That was a great move.
Yeah.
Totally fantastic.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good. I'm glad that you kind of set it up in a way that I could get into that. But yeah, I played her pretty straight innocent. Like I didn't really give a whole lot of like supernatural anything, or really like leave it on the super questionable.
Right.
I thought that was an interesting move, because I played this I think it's like the 6th time I played it, and every other time I've played it, like whether or not she's actually a witch has been super ambiguous, right? Like you could go either way, right? It's like, oh well, she did this creepy thing, but maybe she's maybe we're interpreting it incorrectly. But in this case, like I thought it was really interesting that you went with like playing her like really innocent. Like you didn't give us any reason to think she was a witch, right? Which I thought was great. It was interesting.
Yeah. I was curious to see if it would hold up under that kind of levels of innocence.
Well, because it kind of became more about like, why might we burn you anyway? Which I thought was interesting. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
On that, it was the absolution was really interesting, because by the time we reached it, I was really bought into the why Ham was going through with it in the end.
Were you going to burn her if it got to you?
If it got to me, so Ham being the pagan who doesn't understand Christianity but is not in the end a bad person. If it got to me and she's on the stake and all that's left is me lighting the fire, I was going to ask her if she wanted to be burnt.
My mouth would have been gagged. You'd had to make the decision on
You
your
have to make a
own.
decision, or she's
Nod.
gagged.
Nod or shake your head.
That's true.
Like-
Fair enough. Yeah.
Actually, I've been thinking about it, and it's like, do you want to burn? And the world does not want you to, but do you? Because you are so caught up in this.
Oh yeah,
Oh, actually, you couldn't even
Not
move.
make a decision.
May no longer speak or move unless she is released by another player's character. So you would have gotten
so she
nothing from
couldn't-
her.
Yeah, you couldn't get anything from her. Wow.
Because it was interesting, right? For Hayden, he didn't believe that she was guilty, but unless she was going to claim innocence, he was going to go along with it.
That was my thing too. If
Yeah.
you had just like recanted Eloise, I would have been like, okay, you know. But I think I was like in character, I was so like put out by like your piety. I was just like, oh, fine, burn. You know? So yeah, I'm with you. Like if she had just like claimed her innocence, it would have been different for me, I think.
Yeah, she just had like uber survivor's guilt.
Yeah.
Like that's what it didn't really like. That didn't really come out until like the end with her revealing her background scene. Like that's why she wouldn't talk about like what happened before.
Right.
Outside of Eloise, I loved my scenes with Hayden. I enjoyed the dynamic with Hayden. This sort of like clearly don't like each other and insist on, you know, kind of putting each other down and like kind of you know, calling each other out for different things. I enjoyed that. I thought that was a fun dynamic for me. I also enjoyed the scene. I particularly enjoyed the scene like where, for myself, like where I took Eloise into the woods and kind of like keeping with a threatening tone was just like, you need to fucking tell me what the hell's going on, you know? And I liked how that played out because you kind of stuck to your guns there on that.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
Yeah, we had the I think it was the added, obviously there was cabin fever with all the characters, but when we had that scene on the cliff top where we were inside, caught by the weather, and both myself and Armand were like, "Oh, I got to get out of here! I can't cope with this."
Yeah, like no one could face the fact that like this woman kind of wants to be burned, but like no one actually thinks she's a witch.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that moment where you were like, the only place to run is off the cliff.
That's a good line. That's a good line.
That's good.
Harsh.
I liked how Chris played Ham. I thought that was a good Ham that wasn't like a comic relief Ham, but still like a kind of an outsider to the group.
Definitely.
Yeah, I latched onto the superstitious angle once I kind of thought of it pretty early on, and I'm like, oh, that's a good way of making it a contrast to everyone else, of the supremely not Christian guy in the group trying to make sense of like the greed of like, I'm going to go along with this because why not? But then also the not understanding why they need to go burn this person, but that on the flip side being like, okay, if she wants to be burnt, who am I to stop her? That was a kind of a fun, an interesting place to take a character.
I'd be interested for the people who haven't played this before. Was this what you were expecting?
This was my first time playing it. I think I'd heard a few stories of it, but I think so. I mean, I think from previous play reports, you know, like Jason said earlier, the truth of Eloise's guilt or innocence was very much more ambiguous or a bit of a mystery. So, you know, I guess not exactly, but still, you know, we're kind of at the end, we are all stuck with our own decisions, and you know, if Armand had got ahead with it, is that her best chance of freedom gone? You know, once she gets out of the cell and you start walking, I think the
dominoes are going.
The impetus, the dominoes start falling, and who's going to stand up to that?
Well, I'm curious, like how it would have gone. I mean,
Yeah.
Armand, had you like gone through with it, I was next, and I was going to. What about you, Hayden? Were you going to?
Yeah, I think so.
And Ham, you're the real wild card there. Were you going to?
I would have taken
Tried
the
to.
gag. I would have taken the gag out of her mouth and asked her.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that would have. All right, that would have gone sideways. What would have Eloise would have said?
She probably would have been down for being burned.
And then you would have done it.
Yeah.
And then you would have done it. Wow.
That's
Run away.
So you were so Armand, you were basically her only shot at saving her. Yeah.
Yep. Wow.
I'm curious why Hayden. Why would you have gone through with it?
Because I mean, I know I had kind of built on the backstory over time into having been like an accused freer and a murderer.
Right. Yeah.
The only time he got his sword bloody was freeing someone accused of being a witch.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, if she wasn't going to say that she was innocent, he wasn't going to, free
Put his
her.
neck out for her, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of my thing too, except maybe from a slightly less noble place. I mean, in some ways, like it felt like the journey was more of a redemption for everybody else, right? And most of us chose our redemption, or at least some version of it, right? Except for Armand. So, or maybe you did get redeemed. I don't know. You saved the half sister of your daughter. So, there's that too. Cool. Well, that was super fun. It was definitely different for me. I played it a bunch, and it was setting aside the bird scene, which I thought was really cool. The birds falling out of the sky, that little last omen scene.
Yeah, really.
Setting that aside, it was the least supernatural of all of them I've played.
Yeah.
Like I've played all the others I've played have been far more like have much more like a supernatural tone to it. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, in a way, it felt like Ham was way more open to the possibility that she was a witch, or like
just because of your beliefs.
And maybe that influenced how I felt about Eloise's portrayal, but I did not get the super innocent vibe. I got a really conflicted vibe off of Eloise, because kind of this is my first time playing, but the framing from the get-go of Eloise is you don't know because she doesn't remember.
Yeah. So this session, it was very much more like, who like she doesn't know. So does anyone else know? But yeah, like she wasn't doing any like creepy things except for like maybe the laughing about the birds falling out of the sky. Like that was kind of creepy, but
except and I actually thought, I was like, oh, is she kind of showing us something here? But then you said something that made me think you were laughing because it was ironic because you were in the cage. They weren't hitting you, right? Yeah. Like that, and I was like, oh, I think that's why Eloise is laughing. So there's not like
laughing at the ridiculousness.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah, that's what I picked up. At first I was like, oh, you're a fucking witch. But then I was like, oh, she's just laughing because she's in a cage and she's protected from these birds falling on her head. So yeah. Anyway, well, I thought that was great. I've got to run, but thanks so much, guys.
Yeah.